Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. Today we have an interesting topic to talk about, and that is obedience and submission. We're going to be working from chapter 1 of Esther, which is a beautiful story of the rise of Esther. If you have never read the story, it talks about a young orphan girl who was raised by Mordecai, her uncle, because her parents were killed. And we see the rise of Esther because of the disobedience of a queen, Queen Vashti. You see, Queen Vashti was beautiful. Queen Vashti, the Bible says, she had a beautiful form. She was highly sought after. But her lack of submission to her husband's command got her replaced. And it's so important to understand that when the King of Kings calls you, will you answer? Or will you be too busy? Are you too smart? Are you too intelligent? Are you above the call that God has asked you to do? We see with King Saul, in one season he was anointed to do a job for the Lord, but he got big in his own eyes, the Bible said. He began to think of himself more important than what he really is. And we see King David come along, and King David ends up replacing Saul because Saul's lack of obedience led to his demise. And keep in mind, it wasn't just one time, it wasn't just one offense. This is something that probably happened multiple times. Remember, the Bible says that obedience is better than sacrifice. And we see that Saul lost his crown because he refused to be obedient. We see that Vashti loses her crown because she did not listen to the command and decided to do things her own way, and it cost her her crown. We have to be so very careful in this season that the decisions we make don't cost our crown. So the Lord gave me the title of this video today, and it is Do Not Lose Your Crown. We see that King Ahasuerus in Esther, the book of Esther, is a very powerful king. He's a very prosperous king. This was not just a little nobody king. This king, he had province, the Bible says, over 127 nations. Just think, that's from India to Ethiopia. This was a very prominent man. And he decided to have a feast. He had a party, a celebration. And the Bible says he did not spare any expenses. For 7 days, he had such an amazing party. And Queen Vashti even had her own party as well for the women. So this party was going on for 7 days before the king even calls Queen Vashti. Queen Vashti hasn't made an appearance. Queen Vashti is busy entertaining, doing her own thing. You see, Queen Vashti is important in her own eyes. Queen Vashti thinks that she's above the call when the king answers. How about you? When the king answers, do you delay? Do you hasten to come? We have to be very careful that when the King of Kings calls, we make ourselves available, that we stop what we're doing to serve, to minister unto the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. This is just an example. We see that King Ahasuerus wanted to display the beauty of Queen Vashti because she was gorgeous, the Bible says. But she decided on this 7th day, when the king called for her, that she would not come, that she didn't feel like, honoring the king's request. And we have to be very careful. As women of God, we have to remember that we have to honor our husbands. We have to respect our husbands. We live in a day where people think it's okay to disrespect their husbands. They think it's okay that, they are argumentative and combative. And those kinds of things leave your husband feeling less than, leave him feeling lack of respect. And we know it is better to show our husbands honor and respect because those things cannot be bought, as we see. We see that Queen Vashti was very beautiful, probably charming, even very intelligent, but one thing she lacked. She lacked submission. One thing she lacked, obedience. One thing she lacked was honor. We have to honor our husbands. You may not agree. You may not even feel like getting up. You may not feel like praising. You may not feel like worshiping or serving. You may not feel like honoring your husband's request. But when the king calls, will you respectfully come to him? You see, Queen Vashti did not. She refused the king. She refused to come. And it was done so disrespectfully that she lost her crown that day. she was demoted. And I'm sure that this wasn't the beginning. I'm sure this wasn't the first offense, but this offense got her kicked out of the kingdom. You have to be so very careful that in this hour, you're not disrespecting your husband. You're not being so take charge. You just don't know how to submit yourself to your husband. You don't even know how to just, serve. You don't know how to humble yourself. If she would have humbled herself, if she would have just answered the call, he just wanted to display her beauty, she would not have lost her crown. This goes deeper than just a husband wanting to show off his wife. This is about when the King of Kings calls you, when he gives you an opportunity to serve. Will you turn your nose up at it? Will you say, I don't feel like getting up today. I'm so tired. When the King of Kings wakes you up in the middle of the night, will you be there to answer the call, or will you just go back to sleep? When the King of Kings asks you to step up to your calling, will you answer it, or will you turn away? So it's just so important, whether it's a job opportunity, where it's a mission, wherever the Lord sends you, that when you have the opportunity, when the King of Kings calls you, that you don't turn away. You don't shriek from your responsibilities. We see two women, two different personalities. Vashti obviously had a strong personality, but then we see Esther, her replacement. She knew when to step up and she knew when to stand down. You see, she didn't even want to come before the king because she knew that if she came before the king before she was requested to, she could lose her life. She was a woman that followed orders until she had to stand up for a nation, and it would be worth it, okay? And the way she did it was she sought God first. She sought God in prayer and fasting because she knew the type of man that she was dealing with was powerful. She saw the downfall of Queen Vashti. She knew she was dealing with a man who wasn't afraid to honor his role. So it's just so important to see how Queen Esther went about the situation. She sought God first. She allowed the Lord to order her steps before she went before the king. And we have to do that as well when we find ourselves in tumultuous situations, even with our husband. Do you step before the king? The Bible says a woman can win her husband over with her silence and her good behavior, her godly behavior. Have you stepped before the King of Kings before you enter into the room to ask your husband or to confront your husband about an issue that is bothering you? Because you know the Lord, he has the ability to soften hearts. He has the ability to give the king favor in your eyes. And you see, the Bible says when Esther stepped before the king, she had favor already when he saw her. See, we have to be so careful that we're not taking things in our own hands, but we're giving them to God in the secret place. If you're having difficulties in your marriage, if you're having difficulties with your husband, bring it before the King of Kings. Let him fight your battles so that when it is time to step before the King of Kings, when it's time to step before your husband, you have the favor not only of God, but you have the favor of man. See, you have to use wisdom. We see two different women. One lost her crown because she just made a rash decision. She spoke before she thought. She took action before she sought the counsel of God. Always seek the counsel of God before you take action, because it is he who will order your steps. It is he that will give you the favor before man. And I just love this story, but it's just a reminder. I said, Lord, what would you have me to tell your people? What is it that you showed me about Esther 1? Because I've read this a million times, but what is it? And he wanted me to make sure that I discuss honor, respect. These two keys are so important in a marriage. When you honor your husband, when you respect him, when you value him, when you serve him, you can keep your crown. But when you think that you are too good to do things, when you think that you know best, when you are disrespectful, especially you have people that disrespect their husband in front of crowds, or in front of people, their husbands and wives, they don't care. They're just so disrespectful. And this is a prominent man. This is a man who, like I said, he ruled over 127 provinces, and you embarrass him in front of his friends? You won't even come out? You refuse to be seen? You refuse to listen to the command of the king? And that day, she was replaced. His counsel said, how dare she? She must go. Why? Because other women were watching her. Other women saw her behavior, and he didn't want her influence to trickle down to the others, both small and great. See the importance of honoring their husband so that the other women wouldn't think that it was okay to disrespect their husband because Queen Vashti did. It's the same thing with our relationship with Christ, with God. How do you represent it? Is it one full of honor, passion, respect, zeal? Or is it one that is so dull that the influence that you have on others with Christ would be so minute that there's no reason to use you? When the king calls, will you answer? Will you honor him? Will you respect him? Will you put on your royal crown? He just wanted to display her beauty. Do you display the beauty of the Lord in the way you live? Can people tell that you are a child of God? Put on your royal robes. Put on your crown because you are the daughter of the Most High God. But you have to act like it, and you have to make sure that you're walking in righteousness, walking in holiness, honoring the Most High, honoring the King of Kings, so that when he calls you, are you ready? Are you prepared? Or will you shrink back from responsibility like Queen Vashti did? We must always stay prepared. How do you stay prepared? Getting before the Lord, sitting in his presence, reading his word. So when the King of Kings calls you, you are ready to put on your royal crown, put on your robes, and step before the King. That's all I have for you all today. Be prepared, be ready. Show honor and respect in your marriage. Show honor and respect to your husband. You don't want to be seen as defiant, unsubmissive, unruly, because you will be replaced, and you don't want to be replaced. So that is it, you all. Esther chapter 1, a beautiful, powerful chapter of honor and respect, and how one woman lost her crown, but the other one rose to the occasion. You all have a blessed day. I pray this word will bless you. It is a beautiful story of redemption of a nation, and it's a beautiful story of when we humble ourselves before the King of Kings. He will exalt us, and he will diminish, he will demise, he will put asunder all of your enemies. You all take care, have a blessed day, and I love you. Bye.